Hello everybody, my name is NCSO7 and today we're going to be going back to the 3DS days, though specifically around the time the Switch released. Keep in mind, while everyone had their eyes on the Switch and its upcoming games since it seemed very promising when it was revealed and finally released, the 3DS was still receiving a lot of support, at least for a couple years. One of the first games that would come out after the Switch's release on the 3DS would be Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, being a remake of the Famicom-only game FE Gaiden. Now, I've never played Gaiden, though I played through Echoes last year, and today I want to talk about it. Oh yeah, and before I forget, there's going to be spoilers in this video, so just so you know. So, without further delay, let's begin. You guys know the drill at this point, let's go over how the game looks. Considering it is the 3DS, obviously the game visuals are going to be a bit compressed, but I think the game looks really good. While it certainly doesn't push the hardware much at all, it still looks very good with a very decent art style. All the character designs are really good looking in this game, or at the very least better than before, and the portrait work during the cutscenes is very good. Speaking of the cutscenes, the anime cutscenes are also really good in this game. Yeah, you can't experience them in full glory due to 3DS's limitations, but they still look really good, and honestly, in my opinion, better than the ones that were in Three Houses. Really, there isn't much to say negatively about how the game looks, other than it looks good. There's not much else to really say. So, let's move to the main part of the video, that being the gameplay. So like all of the other Fire Emblem games, or well, most of them, the gameplay mostly consists of moving units across spaces to usually defeat all the enemies or a boss unit. There's several different classes for units which use different kinds of weapons, and yeah, there isn't too much to say. It's a tactical RPG. Rather than focus on the more boring stuff, let's get to the things that this game does a bit different from the other games, at least to me. For one, you take control of two different armies, Ulm's army and Celica's army, which I like because I think one thing that I like about games like Fates and Three Houses and whatnot is that it gives you different perspectives of the war going on. And unlike those games, you have to play through both routes in order to finish the game, which I think is pretty cool. You basically are forced to see both different perspectives and can make it easier for more units to be used instead of one big huge army where you have a bunch of units that you never really use just for certain units that are just better than others. It would have been cool if both of your armies could fight together for more than just one map in the main game, but it's whatever. One thing that this game adds that wasn't in the original though are supports, and these can be pretty cool just because it's cool to just see supports between these characters since it wasn't in the original, but there's only a few of them in the whole game. Like, some characters only get like one support and that's it, which kind of stinks, and it almost feels like they threw the supports in at the last minute as more of a bonus. I guess the last big thing that this game added that hasn't really been in the series since, at least in this same sort of way, is the dungeon exploration. Sometimes you reach areas where you can run around as Ulm or Celica in a traditional dungeon crawling section, and while a cool idea, I feel like it really isn't that interesting at all. I get that this game is a remake of a Famicom game, but geez, the level design is super basic, and it's not even that interesting to look around and explore anyways. It sucks because I would have liked this much more if they made the areas you explore more interesting. Also, I wouldn't mind if the controls were a little bit better when in these segments, but oh well. Overall, the gameplay is pretty solid. Yes, it does have its issues, but the main FE gameplay is still there and it's still really good, so there's that at the very least. So now, let's move on to the story. So starting off with the story, I can say that it's good. It's nothing that crazy and isn't that deep compared to other FE games, but I still like it. To basically summarize, the main plot is that two sides of the continent of Valentia, Zofia and Rigel are at war, causing both Alm and Celica, the two main characters of the game, to set out to stop the war. For Alm, he would eventually become the leader of the Deliverance, which is basically an army of several different kinds of people in several different classes and whatnot, to defeat Rudolph, who's the ruler of Rigel, and for Celica to find Wormilla, one of the main gods in the game. She tries to find her to help heal Zofia. The two do cross paths at different points in the story, with their meeting at Zofia Castle being probably one of the most well-known ones, as it's not the best interaction, as their different worldviews end up clashing and they end up disagreeing and arguing and whatnot, but yeah. Though eventually they do overcome this and eventually not only defeat Rudolph, but also Duma, who is the other main god whose followers are basically possessed in evil. Yeah, it's not very deep and there isn't too much lore to this game compared to like something like Three Houses, but I like it. I like the idea of lovers being torn apart due to war, but then getting rekindled and being able to end it in the end. I like that. Now, of course, a good story needs good characters, and this game is pretty solid with that. Yeah, I did mention before that there aren't many supports in this game, which can lead to many characters not having the most interactions, but there aren't really that many characters that I can think of that are even really that bad. For this video, I'm only going to focus on the main two, starting with Alm, and I like him. I like the twist about his character near the end of the story, with it being revealed that he's actually Rudolph's son, making him royalty despite the rest of the game having him believe that he's just a typical village boy. And as for Celica, I like her a lot too. I do think that she's a much more interesting character due to what she does in the story, and while I have seen some people online dislike her because of some of these actions, I still like her. Yes, she's kind of an idiot sometimes and makes some very dumb decisions, like believing in Jetta's lies without really taking a second to think it through. She does seem a bit too impulsive at times, but still, I like her character, so whatever. There really isn't too much else to say, but on one final note, I do have to say, I love the fact that this game is fully voiced. There were voices in the previous games, but practically only for the cutscenes, but like none of the actual story cutscenes or even supports were voiced at all in the previous games. Echoes would be the first Fire Emblem game to give us the full voice acting that we all love, and it's really good in this game. It gives the story and characters a better feel, rather than just reading a whole bunch of text. Not to say that's a bad thing, but if you go back to Awakening and Fates after playing Echoes, you can really see what could have been with those entries, but I'm getting really off track. Overall, the story is pretty decent, with characters that are also pretty good. Now, before I end the video, let's just touch on one final thing. So normally I do a miscellaneous section for many different things in the game that I want to compile together, but honestly the only real thing I have to mention about the game, aside from what I've talked about before, is the music. And personally, the music of this game is really good. While the original Famicom soundtrack isn't too bad, I really like all of the remade songs in this game. Some of my favorites are March to Deliverance with Milla's Divine Protection and Sacrifice and the Saint being really good ones. Twilight of the Gods is also pretty good as well. And yeah, that's it. I don't really know why I made this its own section, but I did. So yeah, that's all I really gotta say. Moving on. Overall, Echoes is a very solid game in the Fire Emblem series. Again, I haven't played the original, so I don't know exactly how faithful it is, but I'm gonna go on a whim and say it's not only a very deserved remake, but a very good one at that. Many additions to this game made it a lot more fun to play in comparison to other games in the series, like the unique gameplay structure or the full voicing. I just kind of wish this game could have been on the Switch over the 3DS, just so that way the game could have been played by more people, but at least it didn't come out too late into the Switch's life, so I guess there's that. If you haven't played this game before, I highly recommend giving it a go. It is different, but still has a lot of really good qualities in there. Seriously, give it a shot. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is actually supposed to come out quite a while ago. This is supposed to come out in like, goddamn, like December but I wanted to do the Honkai video instead. So yeah, this has been a bit of a long time coming. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this game if you've played it, and consider subscribing and checking out my other videos. That would be very greatly appreciated. Otherwise, that's all I really have to say. I hope you guys are having a good, splendid day and continue to have that. I will see you guys in the next time. Peace out and take care.